Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time of the day it is wherever you are located in the world. And this is just a short video to help out to those of you who use a Nikon D500. And if you've been using it for a short time, you won't have this problem yet. But if you've been using it for a number of years, and I've been using this one daily since about 2016 or 17, you will eventually find that your rubber grips that Nikon provide start to wear out, and they start to smooth and become glossy. When they become glossy, they also become quite sticky to the touch as well. And in the end you'll need to replace them. Now, to be fair, my grips on this camera, although it's used daily because I'm a wildlife photographer, they lasted really well. This main grip here, where your where your fingers come around, didn't really need replacing at all. The grip that did need replacing was the XQD SD card cover door grip, but sadly you cannot buy this bit of rubber separately to replace, so you can't peel this rubber grip off and replace it with a new grip. It doesn't work. So I thought, well, okay, I'll buy a new door, peel off the new rubber, peel off this old rubber and replace the new rubber with the old rubber. But you can't do that easily, because once you take an X-Acto knife and or a Stanley blade and start peeling these off, it ruins them, and no matter what you do, you can't get them to stick back down again. So they are ruined. So it became a point of having to replace the entire door, because also sadly Nikon have got us stitched up. This little spring that's loaded here, there is a screw in here by the way, but if you undo that screw you cannot just take this door off and put the new door on. It is all integral to the part that's actually built in and fitted underneath these rubber grips to the camera. So your only option is to replace the entire SD XQD card door, try saying that when you've had a few pints, in its entirety. And to do that you have to peen or lift up the two lugs on this main grip at either end, because under here are two screws holding the XQD card door in place. And also on the front of the camera here, where are we? Sorry, not on the front, on the back of the camera here, there's a grip running down here, and we have to peel that up because there's a couple of screws under there that also hold the XQD card door in place as well. So in the end it becomes a bit of a pain in the neck, to be fair. But if you're going to replace these, which I've done, I'm not going to peel all this off to show you how it's done, by the way, because I'd end up ruining the grips and having to replace them, and they're not cheap. You can replace all the grips, the back grip, the main grip, the battery door cover, and the grip on this side. You can replace them all for about 100 quid. I've seen the cheapest I've seen is about 60 quid, 90 quid maybe. If you don't need to replace them all, that's fine. They are available separately. I think this main grip's probably about 30 or 40 pounds British, whatever that is in dollars, 40 or 50 dollars I guess, and it can be done, and this is the process of doing it. So what we need to do first of all, if we're going to replace the battery, the XQD card door, which is what I had to do, what you have to do is remove the main grip, which is the grip that you need your fingers to wrap around, and we have to also remove this back grip. Now this back grip is the easiest one to replace because it's a bit of a straight line basically. It doesn't bend around any curves really, so it just drops into place nice and easily. And the one thing I will say is with the main grip or any of the grips is that make sure that you buy genuine Nikon replacement parts. Don't get sort of OEM or the manufacturers. Make sure they are genuine Nikon. Well, how can you tell? Well, that's simple. Let me show you. This is the original genuine Nikon main grip that I removed from that D500 before I replaced it, and what you will find is that when you peel it off, the tape that they use, this double-sided tape, is clear. Now there are a lot of replacement parts out there that when you peel the white backing off, the plastic cover basically off the tape, there's an opaque tape underneath. That is not a genuine Nikon item. And also you can tell it's a genuine Nikon item because the white tape they use to protect the sticky tape has lettering and certain numbering on it as well. So if you've got no lettering or numbering on your tape, it's not genuine. Also make sure that that tape covers all these little parts around the top. Where all the contours are on this grip, there will be Nikon tape, okay? Now on some of them it's a bit sparsely fitted. This comes all the way up to the edges, so if you're pretty sure that you've bought something and it's not a genuine Nikon part, don't use it, send it back straight away for a refund and tell them it's not a genuine part. If you try and use it, you're going to have things sticking up and not sticking down properly, so you need genuine parts, okay? So once we've done that, to get this main grip off, like I said, there are two screws under these little two lugs here. These two lugs sit where this is where your fingers are. So these two lugs sit at the back of the camera by the XQD door. Now there are two screws under here. I did actually try just peeling these two tabs back to get at the screws before replacing the whole lot. But what I found was, although I'd left the rest of this main grip in place, these two lugs, once you try and stick them back down, they keep popping back up again, and it just doesn't work. I tried Gorilla Glue, I tried Scotch double-sided tape, I tried everything to get these to stick down to save me having to replace all the rubbers, but in the end I had to replace all the rubbers and the XQD door. So you remove all these rubber grips. The basic way to do that is be careful, get an X-Acto knife or a Stanley blade, just insert it under an edge, you'll find it straight away. Once you get an edge to peel, it will peel off quite readily. Nikon stuff's quite good, it doesn't leave a lot of residue behind. This is the biggest grip obviously, so you might find some of this tape does stick to the camera body after you've removed the grip. If so, get some isopropyl alcohol, use that on a cloth or a cotton bud if it's in the corners. Make sure that your camera is actually clear of any leftover double-sided tape. Okay, that is important, really important. Otherwise the replacements won't do their job. So clean up, make sure, you know, the preparation is the important part here. Now when I replaced this main grip, with it being the biggest one, I wondered, do I start on this corner, do I stick this into the front of the camera first, or do I start at the back? So I started at the back, and I got these two lugs here that go near the XQD card door, and I located them into place first, because remember, once you've peeled off the backing on this tape, you're now in a sticky situation, literally in a sticky situation. So I started by lining these up with the back of the camera body. Let me show you. I don't want to tell you how to suck eggs here, because you know that's not the intention of my video, but here are the two lugs here. So I started by lining those two up and sticking those down first, whilst holding the rest of the rubber grip away from the camera. Then it was just a question then of being very careful. Once these two are in position, you know you're lined up correctly and they're stuck down. It was just a question then of folding this around very carefully and pushing it into place. Now the only place I had a problem was right up in this corner here, because there's a button on the front of the D500, and I had to get a small watch repair screwdriver and just run it around, just a flat-headed blade of it, run it around the top so that the red flash here, and especially in this corner, tucked down underneath the camera body, the plastic shielding basically. So if you have a problem, just get a very flat bladed screwdriver, a tiny one out of a watch repair kit, and run it round here, and it will tuck in quite nicely. And in the end, as you can see, if I come back to this camera again, you know, this now looks a completely brand new camera. I've got a new grip here, which to be honest I didn't need to replace, but I did need to replace the one on the XQD card door. That's now fitted into place properly. And I don't know whether I mentioned it, but you can't remove this part here. You can't take that off and just replace that bit, because Nikon have got you stitched up. You have to replace the whole XQD card door, so you have to remove the rubber grips to do that, okay? So that's been done, the front grip's been done. As I said, there's a grip here on the back, that's pretty straightforward. There are two screws under there holding the XQD card door on. Once you've put this one on, it drops into place quite readily because it's a straight line. And this grip here is slightly more difficult because you're going around a few obstacles, but again it's a straight line. The most difficult grip to replace is the finger grip here, because it is the biggest one and it does actually go around a complete contour of a corner. But it's an easy job to do. Don't send your camera away to get it done, because the dealers are going to charge you maybe 200 or 300 quid, I would guess, to replace these grips. That probably includes a service and a clean up of your camera as well, but I'm really not sure. But you don't need to do that. So if your Nikon D500 is getting a bit tired and your grips have started to become smooth, or they've become sticky, then that is the way to replace them. It's not a difficult job. If you have any questions about it, or you feel a bit nervous, contact me by all means and I'll go through the process with you again. Nikon have now dropped the D500. In fact, they've dropped all their DSLRs and they've gone completely mirrorless now. They've also dropped their F-class production. So all of us here with F-class and DSLRs are now stuck with them. I did look at the Z9, but I don't need a full frame camera body as a wildlife photographer. This does the job. Now some people have informed me on my channel, which I already knew, that you can actually turn the Z9 into a DX format camera. Yes you can, but you're paying for an FX camera, you're paying for a full frame camera at nearly £6,000 for the body UK money. I don't need a full frame camera, so I will wait until Nikon bring out a mirrorless DX format camera in a professional style mode like this D500 before I even consider replacing. And to be honest, I love this D500 so much for wildlife photography that last week I actually bought another one. This was going relatively a fair price on eBay, including the MBD 17 grip, and I paid about 1100 quid for this camera. It's only done about 40,000 clicks. It's in really good condition. He's obviously used it as a spare or a third camera body, but I like the D500 so much that I bought two. I'm not going to be buying a Z9. I would buy a mirrorless camera if Nikon brought one out in a DX format, but not the Z6 or Z7. They do not fulfill my requirements as a wildlife photographer. At the moment I have a Nikon 600mm f4 piece of glass, and I also have my Nikon 200. Yeah, these aren't my wildlife photography lenses, by the way. I use a Nikon 600 f4 and my go-to lens is at the moment this Nikon 200 to 500mm lens. Now if you're having trouble with your Nikon 200 to 500mm lens, if you've found, like thousands of other people around the world, that your zoom lens starts to stick as you zoom in or out, or it's become stuck completely, this one's still smooth at the moment because I repaired it. There is a video on my YouTube channel. It's a 5-minute repair for this lens. If your zoom is sticking and started to stick, get your lens apart now. It's a 5-minute repair. Go and do it. All you'll find is there's a loose screw catching on the shroud of the zoom. Tighten that screw back down, job's done. The video's on here, go and look at it. If you're seized up completely and you can't zoom in or out at all, even by forcing it. Now, I would say that forcing your zoom into a position won't do it any harm, because if the screw has come out completely, all it's doing is rubbing against a plastic shroud, and the scratches hopefully won't manifest onto the actual, let me unlock this. The scratches won't manifest onto the actual barrel of the zoom. Normally the screw scratches the shroud, which is hidden anyway, so, and it's only plastic, so it doesn't really matter if that gets scratched. So you can force it round. I would suggest you don't do that though. I have a guided repair in written instructions on 2 pages of how to strip down this lens and the shroud if you need to repair your sticking zoom on your Nikon 200 to 500. Watch the video first. If you have any problems, contact me. I'm happy to send you the instructions on the strip down. I've sent it to countless other people. They seem to have used it, repaired their lenses quite completely, and saved themselves probably £400 or £500 by not having to send it away and have an authorised repair centre tackle the problem for them. It is a job you can do. Just needs a bit of care, and you need to keep things clean when you're doing it. Have a look at the video. Anyway, that's how to replace your rubber grips on a D500. You can like this video, you can dislike it. I don't really care. I don't do this for money. I don't do it for adulation. I do it to help out Nikon users like me who have problems and need to resolve them without sending things away, unless it's under warranty, of course. If it's under warranty, send it away and get it done for free. Have a nice day. Stay well. Let's all stay COVID free. See you later.